hi, welcome to everybody that's here for the first, it's the XX Council meeting that everybody gets to see a presentation on. So we're going to start off by having our special guest say a few words to us. So David, you have the floor.
Oh, thanks, Aaron. It's a real pleasure to be here with everyone. And I think in a moment like this, in the current market conditions, it's really important to step back and look at the fundamentals. And I believe there are really two major fundamentals that relate to the XX network. One is the layer one. Let's keep in mind that we've demonstrated, thousands of quantum-resistant payment transactions per second with a very, very limited network node spec, and that suggests that we could probably handle all the payments on the planet on a real-time basis with quantums, the strongest type of quantum secure payments when that's fully implemented. Well, let's be honest, nothing else even comes close. There's a lot of concern about other chains and so on these days, and really we are so in essence far ahead and offering unprecedented level of speed and of security that is just no comparison. So that's one thing to keep in mind in terms of fundamentals. And the second thing is, of course, privacy. There's been some major public opinion surveys done by IBM for about 10,000 people around the planet. And what they found is consistent with other surveys, is essentially that 3/4 of the people believe that the biggest problem and the only major problem with what people sometimes refer to as the internet, or more sophisticated people might call Web 2, is privacy. That's the big issue. 3/4 of people find that to be the big issue. And if you ask them to come up with problems, the first 3 problems that people come up with the most are really just privacy renamed. So it's clearly the big issue. And if you look at the need for privacy in online systems, then the metadata shredding that is a core second portion of the XX network technology is, strictly speaking, necessary. You can't avoid it. And moreover, it's my view that while there are other newer incumbents that claim to have solutions to this, if you really look at it and really think about it, no one even comes close to being able to offer a low latency processing with a large anonymity set. And that is the whole game. That is the figure of merit. And, in early days of market, people may not really be aware of that, or we may not be drawing attention to it enough, but that's really what's needed. You need strong privacy, and it needs to be with a low delay. And there's no getting around those things. So, and if you look at those, we're just way ahead of everyone else. And we will remain so. So I think maybe I could add a third fundamental, and I don't want to go too far over here with time budget, but so it's really good. I'll just step back and look at the fundamentals. There's a lot of blockchain stuff out there, but not that many can reach out and touch, several billion people on the planet today with a very easy switching over to our apps, right? Where they will get real value, real privacy, So this is, there's nothing else really like that. We have a way to bring the unprecedented advantages of this kind of extraordinary technology to ordinary people in a way that's just as easy to use as products they use every day. So that's a profound thing. And when you sort of add to that sort of use tends to have what they call network effects and I hate to use the word virality these days and so on, and that the technology behind it has sort of the best kind of scalability. I think it's just extraordinary. So let's just real briefly, I'll just wrap up by saying that the XX network has been going through a real kind of decentralization push, and that this council is a critical part of that. And so I'm super pleased and delighted to see the council getting off to such a great start.
That's great. I'm really I'm encouraged to hear you talk about the technical side of the network and how confident you are in that, given your reputation and in the crypto space. I think we are all encouraged by what you had to say about that. So thanks so much, David. Okay, so again, welcome to the first XX Council meeting. The purpose of the meeting is to share and document information about the ongoing vision and the developments of the XX network. As you can see, a council chair is chosen prior to these meetings, actually by the council itself. The chair will direct the scope and the timeliness of each meeting. In this case, it's me. My name is Aaron, also known as Cryptowell online. The meetings will be approximately an hour in duration now that we've started. Obviously, we're holding them by video, and they are being recorded for archiving purposes. Presenters will be given an allotted time, which will be marked in gold, as you can see at the top of the screen. I've got 1 minute and counting. So that way we can share on the subjects relevant to the department that we're in and do it in a timely manner. So upon conclusion of this presentation, community members can interact with the council and the developers in the chat channel of this international engagement section of our Discord. So moving forward, Robbie's going to share about the vision statement. So Robbie, go ahead. I'm going to go on mute here. You can take over.
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, everybody. This is actually a history in the making here with our very first community council meeting. So the council members serve as elected representatives of the XX community. So you can see actually the council as a mouthpiece between the foundation and the whole community. By actively engaging with the community, we will gather input, and together with the other members, we come to the point of making decisions and as well to publish expectations for the direction of the XX network. We, the council, will work with the XX Foundation and outside partners to consolidate these community goals into action. It is our role to hold community meetings, raise questions, answer questions, and work to advance the goals of the XX network. So, how are we going to achieve that? Well, we laid out the 3 components to achieve our goal. The first component is to communicate. Whether you are a node runner, a user of the network, or a other network member, we will work to understand your needs and facilitate regular updates from the XX Foundation, core developers, and community leaders. The second one is to consolidate. This means that we will meet frequently to discuss and prioritize community issues and distill them into priorities, which allows us to focus our limited attention and resources. Last, but certainly not least, is to coordinate. Using our powers, we will act on our priorities by leveraging our power over the treasury. Just like what we recently did with giving content, creators, translators, etc., XX coins from the community. So, to state it short, our goal is to represent the consolidated, these combined interests of the community and the XX network. Thank you, everybody. Give it back to you, Aaron.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Robbie. Next, we have our development roadmap, which we will have 3 presenters, the first of which is Ben from Elixxir. So, Ben, you take it away.
Good to have you here. Hopefully I'm coming through well. So the Elixxir team, which comprises both the back-end team and the front-end team, are working hard on a series of things that are pretty important. The first one is JavaScript for the XXDK. This has been something that is pretty important because from a very fundamental level, much of Web3 is written as web apps. So being able to integrate the XXDK into those is the key to unlocking potentially hundreds of partnerships. That's well on its way. In fact, all of the technical work is done and it's currently in testing. And we'll come back to it in the next section. So the second thing that we're working on is channels. So we have group chat in the client. It's the small scale group chat. This is unlimited members, and channels within what we're building, which is both APIs that integrate into any product as well as a specific implementation, actually 2 specific implementations, one within a web app, which I'll describe in a second, and one within the XX Messenger that you all know and hopefully love. But channels within the XX network are, to my knowledge, a completely new and unique thing. When you, for example, open up Telegram, that channel is not encrypted and it's readable by Telegram itself or anyone who subpoenas them. Channels the XX network are private. You can't really tell that a channel exists until someone tells you about it. Like you can watch all the network traffic and it's invisible. It also very strongly, to the same ability extent as all XX Messenger messages, protects the privacy of senders. People who read from it are a little less protected against most extreme adversaries, but under very strong assumptions, you still can't tell who's reading from a channel at all. So channels internally, from an engineering perspective, are broken up into 4 phases. Phase 1 is complete, and the phase 1 is similar to the channel demo that we showed a few months ago, except it has real identities and provable identities. You know, when you see a certain username, that is that user. It's not anyone pretending to be them. The second step for channels is admin commands. So things like in just your channel, banning users, deleting messages, pinning messages. It will be extensible to roles, although we're not implementing that currently, and a series of other common admin tools. The third step is moderators. So admins within the system are a single user, the person who makes the channel. They can then grant powers to any number of moderators. So that's phase 3. And then phase 4 is what we call channel bots, which isn't exactly what you think. So part of the way that we're able to build channels that are truly private is because the network itself stores messages for 3 weeks. But this means that admin commands will be lost after 3 weeks. So channel bots are a way to make sure that they retain far longer. So the goal, and I think I'm running over, I'm sorry about that. Our goal is in 30 days to actually release a demo of channels, probably without admin commands, but as a web app using the JavaScript XXDK. And the hope is that on Elixxir.io, there'll just be a button, you open it up, and you'll get channels. It'll be pretty cool. Channels also have the fun thing where, unlike the Messenger, they're automatically multi-device. So like you're not limited just to one phone, which has been a problem with the XX Messenger. Okay, I'll try to speed this up. Payment integration is being worked on. It's pretty well far on its way. We've got one engineer working on some cryptography for it, another one on network level implementation. The decentralized account backup partnership with Crust is well on its way. We have our next meeting on Monday, and there's some work that we got to do before then. I think we're probably within 30 days of it actually being added to the Messenger. We're working on upgrading to C-Tide. That's what you read there is the how cryptographers spell C-Tide. It is a single isogenes Diffie-Hellman system that is, but it's expanded, which does not have the vulnerabilities of the one we were using before. We are currently talking to actually the creators of C-Tide, and hopefully they will be helping us with some issues in their library. And we're actively supporting dApps. We've got a call next week on a dApp application, and we've got more coming in. And then we're working on Messenger partnerships. The hope is that we can get events and various groups to start using the Messenger or using the channel's web app with as an official endorsement and within their project. I'll be around at the end for any questions. But yeah, I think back to you, Aaron.
Perfect. Thanks, Ben. Okay, moving on. We're next going to go to Bernie here, and I'm going to have Bernie present on the XX network. Go ahead, Bernie.
All right, thank you. Okay, so you can see here the list of things I'm going to talk about. The first thing is the fragment simulator in the wallet web app. So that was already added, I think, 2 weeks ago. And this means that now people can see like how far away they're from being elected and predict if they're going to be elected as a validator for tomorrow, and could help nominators also make better choices. And part of that leads into the next point, which is our simple staking tool. So we want to really simplify the staking process, and we create an algorithm that will select the 16 validators for you. So anyone that doesn't really understand that much about nominated proof of stake can easily stake in a couple of clicks. And this tool is ready. We're just waiting to release it. I think Will might touch on that later. Then we have like the bigger stuff. So first one is quantum secure transactions. This is something that has been undergoing in the past months already. And I believe we have some announcements regarding that coming out next week. But yeah, we can do this in parts essentially. So pretty soon we could be able to add quantum secure based wallets, so Watts Plus wallets and transactions to the network. So anyone can start using quantum secure transactions. Later on, you will be able to redeem a sleeve wallet into a quantum secure wallet. So that's a process that's a bit more complicated, because you need to essentially like move all the stuff of your current wallet into that new quantum secure wallet. And we need a way to do that doesn't stop you from using the system. Like you won't be able, like you don't need to unstake and wait 28 days, all of that sort of stuff. And then finally, the last step of quantum secure transition would be to also start using quantum secure cryptography in a Babe and Grandpa consensus. But yeah, this estimate and what we see here is just for that first step. So to actually have quantum secure signatures or wallets within the network. Then we also want to work on a mobile wallet app. So our main goal here is that it will be the first app to interface with XX Messenger potentially, and also that would support sending transactions directly over CMix without the messenger. So that's possible because of the JavaScript XXDK. And we feel like this app should be like quite similar to the sort of the ideas we have in the Explorer. So not in the wallet. So the Explorer, I don't know if everyone agrees with me, but it provides like a more simple interface to like see what's happening on the network. We try to really explain things in a way that any user can use the network. So that would be the goal here for this mobile wallet app as well. It would potentially start off as just like you would be able to see your transaction history and stuff like that, and then maybe include like staking in the wallet later on as well. But yeah, it's another big one as well. Then governance and staking metrics in the Explorer. So this is an ongoing process. We're always like adding stuff to the Explorer. You will see like when we release the simple staking tool, we've made another number of improvements all around as well. And this will be just a step forward in that direction to adding more and more information to the Explorer. Okay, then we have the EVM bridge. So at mainnet launch, actually, we already included a palette in our runtime. So we already have the code on chain to build a bridge with any VM-based chain. It's just a matter of like building all the stuff around it. So we will need DevOps and backend for the relayers that operate on the chain. You will need, and this is what will take longest, is a front end as well. So obviously we don't want to just have the bridge be in the web wallet or in the Explorer. We would want a like dedicated website for it, which is much cleaner usually. So that's what this one is about. But this would enable us to essentially wrap XX coin on Ethereum, for example, and then make transfer or make a bridge between Ethereum and XX, and anyone could like transfer native XX coin into the wrapped version of Ethereum, potentially like use that wrapped coin on Ethereum dexes and like back and forth as well. And then finally we have smart contracts and MPCs and postage. So these are more like advanced things that will depend on the proposal. So this means that we're still in the research phase in these projects. And yeah, I think that's all I want to talk about today. So back to you, Aaron.
Awesome. Thanks, Bernie. Okay, we will move on to the XX Foundation. We'll have Will present next. So go ahead, Will.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, so just to remind everyone, like the primary goal of the XX Foundation is to support and really facilitate the adoption of the network. And we've been doing a few things to make that happen. Actually, we've been doing a lot to make it happen, but you can kind of categorize them as, marketing, partnerships, and tools. And more practically, what this looks like is this list here, along with some other stuff that's kind of just getting kicked off that we're not ready to talk about in this call, but hopefully in the next call. So I think the next slide, we're going to really dig into marketing. So I won't spend too much time on the Brave ad campaigns or KOL partnerships in this slide. We'll save it for the next slide, I think. But one thing I do want to state at a high level in terms of how we're approaching this strategically is, in my personal opinion, and I think others share it, marketing on its own is not really enough to really build adoption. And we struggled with this early on in the network. You really need a call to action, and you really need good, compelling kind of partnerships and use cases for the product, in this case, the network, to really make marketing, specifically digital advertising or these articles that, David's been in over the past few years, or these podcasts. You really need a good call to action to make it worth it. So part of us creating better calls to action, one of them was streamlining the adoption process, specifically for users early on. So I released a proposal in the Discord last night, which covered the simple staking tool that Bernie mentioned. And that simple staking tool is really important because, currently there's a lot of friction when it comes to bringing in new users to the network. So, you bring in someone in the network, even if they're familiar with blockchain, there's a lot of ground to cover in terms of learning the different tools in the XX network, in terms of learning how staking works, the restrictions on staking, how to make your staking decisions, and how to secure your wallets, creating, controller wallets and stash wallets. It's kind of a nightmare for the average user. And really, it's always been our vision as founders that the XX network technology is approachable to a mainstream audience, because that's what's really going to drive adoption long term. So, all that being said, that was the impetus, or like the motivation for building that staking tool. It's to start breaking down these hurdles for adoption. That's also where partnerships come in. So we're working on partnerships with wallets. I think we're going to mention one later on. And that'll mean, for people who want to get the coin and already have a wallet, they won't have to download yet another wallet. It also means hopefully that we can form deeper partnerships with these wallets so that they can start sending all of their coin transactions through CMIX, which will bring outside communities into the network. So we're trying to create like two-sided partnerships with these wallets. They list us, we help their existing customers. And then enterprise and event partnerships. The technology that David came up with really is groundbreaking and really kind of reinvents the way that not only people interested in blockchain and people interested in using private messengers can communicate and facilitate transactions on the internet, but it can be used by a whole array of existing Web 2 products and other businesses out there who are looking for safer, more secure, more private ways to communicate with their customers or communicate with their partners. So we're trying to extend partnerships to even businesses outside of the blockchain ecosystem. And then a third thing is event partnerships. And I think I'll say that for the next slide as well. We are going to talk a little bit about exchange listings later on after that. So I'll save that. And then mobilization of the council. This was something the foundation thought was really, really important to the long-term viability of the network, to really kind of react to the needs of the community and the users. So that's, I think, a large part of why we're having this call today. And the foundation is in total support and will provide all the resources it can to making sure that the council is effective in representing the network's interests. That's you guys, the community. And yeah, I think that's it for this slide.
Right on. Wow. Okay, we're doing really good for time, so appreciate everybody doing their best to stay on there. So I will get started on this. Here we go. As some of you may already know, we do have a couple KOLs, key opinion leaders, or also known as social media influencers online. We have a few that we're already working with, and we have a lot more coming. As you can see, there's actually more than 30 that we're reaching out to right now. As you can imagine, this is a bit of a high-level discussion in order to organize all of these people, but we are working with various parties in the XX network community in order to make this happen. So we're really excited about what's coming around the corner here, and I would encourage you to continue following the current KOLs that we have. One being Darren Moore Jr. He is on Twitter and he's on YouTube. If you haven't already seen some of his content, you will likely see it. There's more coming soon. They are going to be covering various aspects of the XX network, being that it's really a research sponsorship in that regard, and they really just dig in on their own. We're not directing them in any particular way other than to cover us. As you know, we're not into shilling in any regard. We're really trying to build something real that people can use. So we are organizing Twitter Spaces with these KOLs as well. The latest on that is that I'm trying to organize one for next week, so you'll probably hear updates on that. Social media engagement. We're obviously looking to get high impact tweets on contemporary issues. We want to do that faster using numerous people within our network. We would encourage you to follow our devs and other in-house KOLs. Obviously, people like David, Will, Jim, Ben, and various other people. If you're not already following, it's really important that our community works together to grow. We can't do this alone. We have to work together, and we really encourage everybody to get as involved as you can. Obviously, it depends on the person, what your life looks like, but we really encourage you to engage on things like Twitter, Telegram, and I make mention of doing it like an army. It's really we need to join together to do this, right? So it doesn't necessarily need to just be about the specific XX stuff. Obviously, that's what we're about, but we want to be getting people engaged and talking and building relationships, because that's ultimately how we grow is through relationships with people. So we really want to encourage that. And like I say at the end there, be the community that you want to see. We always appreciate critiques. We want them to be honest and serious, but we also want them to be constructive. So if you have a solution, we also want you to be that solution and work with us. So I'll move on to the next slide. Will, you are up next, my friend.
Thanks. Yeah, just to like touch back on the previous 2 points. Obviously, what we're really trying to do is increase the outreach we're capable of doing with these. So we're going to do digital ads. We're going to have partnerships, but we really need, like as Aaron described, an army of community members to help us co-promote and spread the word and welcome new people into the community. So it really is important that the community helps us out with that to the extent that they have the time available. So moving on to kind of some of the more focused marketing efforts we're doing. One of them is digital ads. We have done digital ads in the past. So specifically, right after the listing, the foundation facilitated some ads letting the world and the community know that the network was live and tradable. And we did that via Coinzilla, and I think results were mediocre. And I have a couple of theories on why that is. I think a lot of it has to do with the market we're in. We're in a very tough market. So as I was saying before, it's not enough to just tell people that your coin is live. You really need to have a compelling vision and a story about why this project is important to them. And yeah, I think advertising that, coins are going to make you a lot of money, and that while also being, I think legal, it's also, I don't think, a very effective way to compel people to join your network. So what we're trying to do is create ads that really focus on issues that people are facing throughout the world. And what we're trying to do in this regard is bring people to the product, which is Elixxir, which is one of the apps that is being built on the XX network, but it's also the network itself, so that they can start developing their own solutions to the problems that they're facing. So, we can give lots of examples to this, but in the United States, there's a lot of people that believe the major social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, are controlled, shouldn't be controlled given their importance in social narrative and the ability for communities to communicate. They shouldn't be controlled by centralized individuals. And this is a really mainstream view. And that is like an ad campaign we can build to bring people to the network. It's not about buying a coin. It's about, pushing back about centralized control of social infrastructure. So this is the type of thing we're trying to do in order to make our digital advertising more effective. It's about creating good narratives around real issues. Now we can do that. I think a lot of people in the foundation, we're Western European or we're US or North American. And so we understand some of the issues in our own communities. One thing I think we need the community's help with is identifying those issues and those narratives that we can tell in their own local communities that maybe we don't have experience with or we're not aware of. So I think one way we wanted to do that was to create an ad competition within the community. So basically we'll say for these different international communities, we'll take the top 5 most voted ads, and we'll pay to run them on Brave. And the ones with the best results, the ones that get the best engagement, will win some type of prize. And I think that'll help bring people to the community with real kind of compelling advertising, but it also kind of help get the community itself engaged. So I'm kind of proposing that as an idea. Happy to hear feedback on it either in the chat here or in Discord later. But we'll probably do a formal proposal for that in the next couple days. And then just talking about Brave in general and why we chose Brave, Brave is kind of in line with the ethos and the ideals of the XX network, in that it's one of the few web browsers that makes an attempt to respect the users' control of their own data and their traffic. It incentivizes people to receive these ads. So, they're not just being forced on people. They're actually happy to receive the ads, which again, increases engagement. They're also a highly targeted audience for us. I think they have 60 million users around the world, really good distribution across a lot of different countries. And I think over 80% of them have used blockchain in the past. And obviously, given the nature of the browser itself, a lot of them already kind of understand a lot of what we're trying to do here at the XX network. They understand the need for privacy, the need for digital sovereignty. So that's why we're choosing to do this next set of ad campaigns on Brave. And we should get a lot of these ads out, hopefully in the next week, if not 2 weeks. We're also working on Coindesk monthly column, and working on identifying some quality crypto newsletters to join, either to, advertise directly on them or to, start talking within them. Moving on to partnerships, we have more partnerships in the works. These are just what we've gotten kind of like the ink drying formal agreements on. First is Crust, which I think a lot of people have already heard about. This is an important one. This is something we've always, or at least I've always wanted to do, which is to extend a lot of our functionality to distributed or decentralized storage chains or solutions. So we don't want to stop at Crust. We don't want to stop at the current Crust implementation. We want to deepen that implementation, but we also want to extend to other file chains out there. I'm mainly looking at Filecoin and storage right now. If there's others you want me to look at, happy to do it. Or you can reach out to them yourself, and we're happy to field any questions they have on tech integration. Second is eCash 2.0. I'm not going to say too much about this because this is actually kind of under wraps. But this is a potentially really, really big one to keep your eye on. BitKeep, this is one of the largest wallets in Asia. As I said before, we're really trying to create some two-sided partnerships with wallets specifically because we can help them provide metadata protection to their own customers while also getting the ability to trade and hold our coin on as many of the tools that people are already using as possible. So BitKeep's, I think, a big one. It's not the only one we're working on getting adoption with, but finishing the JS and API channels, which Ben talked about in his slide. This is really, really, really important. It's been hard for us to form a lot of partnerships in the Web3 space because a lot of the products in Web3 are web apps, and not a lot of them have native mobile applications. So now that we have that JS API in the channels, this makes future partnerships a lot easier. And so we're exploring ways, and some ideas I have there specifically is around events. So, we have these major crypto events all over the world. A lot of the time they want us to, spend tens of thousands of dollars on a banner somewhere as a sponsor, or, spend tens of thousands of dollars on a desk, which is great. And it's a good way to get people to some degree to see your project. But I think what would be cooler is if we could be, say, the official messenger of a crypto event. So, Shanghai Blockchain Week, if we could be the official messenger of Shanghai Blockchain Week. And so like for all the events that are going on in Shanghai Blockchain Week, we would have a channel. So if David's speaking on stage, there would be a channel for that event. People could meet in that channel. They could talk about what the talk. They could, make connections, and these connections would be tied to cryptographic identities that they could carry outside of the event. And, eventually once we get payments integrated, they'd be able to facilitate crypto transactions between each other. So we think this is a really, really, this is something I'm really focused on trying to make happen, because I think it'll help our community grow quite quickly. And then we've been creating I want to say a short list, but it's actually quite a long list of some of the biggest privacy and security advocates out there. And we are looking at ways that we can partner with them in their various positions that they hold. Some of them are just, influencers. Some of them have their own products. Some of them work for big companies. So we're trying to identify them and reach out to them directly just to kind of open up more doors than we've currently had in terms of potential partnerships. But I think that's it. So yeah, basically the two big, initiatives we're doing at the foundation at the moment is the Spray of Ad campaign and digital ads around it, and then really trying to facilitate as many partnerships as possible.
Great. Okay. Well, we're going to transition to your next subject, Will, which is highly anticipated, I imagine. So going to the next slide, we are going to talk about exchanges.
Thanks. Okay, so this is highly controversial, and unfortunately, there are a lot of things I'm still, not allowed to say. I can't tell you what exchanges we're working on or who we're talking to. I can tell you kind of like in general, our strategy here is to focus on a handful of tier 1 exchanges, and then in parallel with that, work on facilitating some targeted tier 2 and local exchanges. So obviously the tier 1 is quite obvious. We want to be on we want to make sure that the coin is available to as wide an audience as possible. Tier 1 exchanges are one good way to do that. I can't say too much about which ones we're talking to, but we are kind of actively speaking to them, and we'll get into a little bit of the criteria of what they're looking for before they say yes. Tier 2, we're really focusing on trying to build out in a couple certain countries and geographies that have had good engagement with the network, and that, as I was saying before, whatever's happening in their local communities makes it quite obvious why the XX network and Elixxir are important. So it's really easy to get new users in those communities. So we're focusing on making sure we have local exchanges in those communities. So that's one approach in the tier 2 world. And then the other approach, some of these tier 2 exchanges have other products that they either own or they're partnered with. And so by partnering with them for an exchange listing, we can also get in some of their other products. So we are working on both multiple tier 2 and tier 1s. I did want to give you guys some transparency into what this exchange process looks like, because it's not as simple as phoning up CZ at Binance and being like, hey, you should list the XX network. It's really a long, complicated process that starts, first of all, with usually needing to already have a contact at the exchange, especially for tier 1 exchanges. You can't just find the guy you need to talk to on LinkedIn or on their website, or you usually need to have an inside person who introduces you, tells them why it's worth their time to look at the project. We are lucky to have, good partners, good investors who have made some of those intros, but it is a fairly complex and not transparent process. Once you do get that contact, then you're looking at a multi-week kind of slugfest with them, where they do deep dives into the project, into the founders. They do a really deep analysis of the community. So they want to know how many followers you have on Telegram, how many you have on Twitter, how engaged are these followers, is there FUD in the community, what's the overall outlook on the project within the community. The community aspect of this is probably the most important criteria they're going to look at for your project. They want to see a lot of users. They want to see a lot of a lot of optimism. Because at the end of the day, what is an exchange's business model? It's to bring new traders to their platform or to ensure that there's more traffic on their platform. And the best way for them to do that is to bring in projects that have big communities. In the same way that we're trying to build our community by partnering with other projects that have big communities. You kind of like get a sharing of communities there. So this is a huge one. We need to grow the community. We need to increase engagement with the community. And, we need the community to generally be optimistic about the project for them to kind of like put this little check in their criteria list. And that's why we've been, that's why Aaron and Robbie have been working so hard to increase engagement in the Telegram and Discord communities. And that's what a lot of our marketing efforts are going to be around, is bringing people into the community rather than just forwarding them to an exchange listing. Second is analysis of coin economics in the business model. And there's also, I think, something that's missing here, which is, I would say, it's analysis of the economics, the business model, and also the technology. This is something we've actually always done really well on. I think the XX network has always passed with flying colors, both in terms of technical due diligence, both in terms of the economics, and in terms of the nodes in particular. I think everyone's been really impressed with our nodes, how geographically dispersed they are, and that they're all individuals. You look at a lot of even tier 1 projects out there, and they do not have decentralized node communities. We have, I think, one of the best node communities in this space. And that's something we've gotten a lot of positive feedback for. So this is something we've done really well on. And then obviously, this is a huge one. It's, do they have to do a lot of work to integrate our coin into the platform? Which is to say, is it an ERC20, which they can basically, it's all automated. They just fill in a form and it's live in 20 minutes. Or is this something that they actually need to get their dev team to do a little bit of work on? Do they need to spin up their own native node? And this can be the difference between getting a listing, in 3 weeks versus a listing in 8 months. And so this has been a hurdle for us in the past. Part of what we've done at the foundation and with the XX network was to start streamlining. Similar to the simple staking tool, we've created a new repo that was published, I think, yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, Bernie, which basically gives you all the steps you need to integrate the XX network with your exchange. You shouldn't even need to contact us. It's pretty straightforward, really easy to do. So that's one thing we're doing to kind of streamline that process. We also have the benefit of having been listed already, which means that people are already confident that it can be done quickly, because I think most of the exchanges that did it in less than a few weeks in terms of the technical integration side of things. So just digging even more into what the requirements and the costs are for these listings, just to be as transparent as possible. Listing fees, I think this is all public information. These things can be $500,000. They can be millions of dollars in the tier 1, for tier 1 exchanges. There's other fees. So they usually want co-marketing fees. So you spend money co-marketing the listing. There's deposits. You can, lose your deposits based on certain criteria. They need you to have market makers, which basically help facilitate liquidity in the exchanges. All of this costs a lot of money and takes time to set up. And then there's the criteria, which we kind of touched on already at a high level. But more specifically, what I've seen at least is as far as like good numbers that they're looking for. They want to see Twitter at least 20K, preferably 30K followers. Same in Telegram. They want to see pretty good volume in any existing listings that you have, and we've identified that as probably above 500,000 daily volume. Usually they want to see large VC backing, and for better or worse, we decided early on, the founders did, that we weren't going to take large VC backing, that we wanted this to be kind of more community and organically grown. And on one hand, I think that's good for the long-term health of the network. But on the other hand, it's made it difficult because these large VC backers give you outside clout and validation, which is something we kind of have to earn ourselves. So we're not planning on getting large VC backing. We haven't had it traditionally. So it's one thing that has been, one hurdle in getting these listings. Community is engaged and proactive. I think I already talked about this. I think the community right now is very engaged. I think this is great. I think if we can, if the community grows quite a bit and we keep the same engagement, and I hope that these regular council meetings facilitate that, then I think we're in a good position here. And then project offers real utility or value. Again, I said we've always done really, really good on this mark, the technology, both from, does it work due diligence, but also, does it fill a unique slot in the market? We've done really great here. Project is in a trending segment. It used to be L1s, it used to be DeFi, then it was NFTs. Now I think there's a lot. In some ways, we're going circular. I think there's renewed interest in layer ones. I think privacy is becoming a real big hot topic now. So I think we're doing well on this check mark. We do fit into obviously a really strong L1, and we offer some unique groundbreaking technology on the privacy front. So I think we're doing well in terms of being in a trending segment. And then native versus alt, again, we've done everything we can to make this as streamlined as possible in terms of getting our native coin integrated into exchanges. Because just to touch on that real quick, native coins being on exchanges has been really important to us. We did have, people did offer to do an ERC20 for XX on some big exchanges, but that really harms the economics of the network. It starts taking volume and traffic away from the security of the network, because the security of the network is tied into the staking mechanics of the network. So, while we do want to enable cross-chain compatibility and we do plan to implement a bridge, we thought it was important to launch the coin natively. And I think we still believe that. So we're still pushing for native listings versus ERC20 listings. Just so that we keep the same shared security model that was originally developed, rather than kind of like the bridge has a whole new security model that relies on relayers. So yeah, I think we're going to continue to focus on native listings at the moment.
Awesome. Okay, thanks so much, Will. You covered a lot of ground there. If Bernie, Baltazar, Ben, or Will have anything else to say, feel free. Other than that, we will probably close out this recorded part of the session and continue on in the chat rooms. Going once.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for who did come for coming. Hopefully, I think in the future, like Aaron said, I think we're going to move this to a different format as well, maybe Zoom or Hangout or Google Meets. So if you guys have a preference, that would be something that would be good to share with us, both in terms of the venue and in terms of the time. So yeah, I want to thank the community. And if you guys want to hear more, want to see something change, have suggestions, definitely reach out to us and let us know.
Great. Okay, well, that wraps up the recorded part of the session. We will see anybody else that wants to talk in the chat group. So thanks, everybody. Have an awesome day.